It's time for our last speaker, Nickolay Ivchenko. Nickolay is an associate professor in space plasma physics at KTH. He's working with experimental space research. He has a PhD from KTH in 2002. Nickolay will share his experiences from being successful with his first EU application. So I guess you have 100% success rate. Okay. Yeah, well, will tell us a little bit about the SEAM project, which is a FP7 space project that is focusing on nanosatellites. And now he's involved in another project called INVEST, which is a Horizon 2020 space project. So he will tell us more about his experiences. So please.
Okay. Can you hear me? Good. Right. So, okay. There's a short outline of what I wanted to talk to you about. I'll tell you a little bit about the projects we are running, the SEAM and the INVEST project, which we're involved in, and then I say a few words about the application process and project implementation. So SEAM is a small explorer for advanced mission. It is a nanosatellite which has as a goal to provide high quality, science quality measurements of DC and AC magnetic field in the Earth's environment. And also we have a new innovation, a few innovation there, new approach to operation strategy, high rate telemetry and telecommand in the context of nanosatellites. An interesting aspect here is that it is actually an SME-oriented project, but it is science-driven. So we are coordinating the consortium of 8 partners, and 6 of them are SMEs. We have OEC Microtech from Sweden, and we also have Swedish Space Corporation from Sweden. But others are partners from across Europe who are developing their own parts for the project. So this is just a very quick view where we are. We started in late 2013, so we are now in starting the 3rd year of the project and working towards launch next year. One interesting thing here is that EU runs all the projects by timetable, and that of course is not always applicable to space projects with hardware, because when you come to launch, then things are likely to get delayed either by you or by other partners. So the way the EU seems to be handling it is by freezing the projects. First of all, just one message: there are no extra money. It's not SNSB, it's not ESA. If you run out of money, you're out of money. And even if objectively you could do a much better job with just a little bit more, there is nothing that. So the best they can do is to freeze the project and then to reopen again when it's time. And this could happen for space projects and not only for space projects. So we'll see how it will go for us. Just a few pictures of what we are doing there. We have to get good quality measurements on a satellite, we need to deploy the sensors far away. So we have a deployable boom of 1 meter in each direction that brings the sensors away from the disturbances. And then we have the sensors, the flux gate magnetometer, which we developed together with a partner in Ukraine, and a surge coil magnetometer. A star tracker we developed at KTH. And currently the satellite is in engineering model testing, so you can see some pictures here. And we are looking at assembling flight model early next year. So the second project, which is a bit more, it might be of interest to say that the total budget of the SEAM project is 2 million euros, including launch and some early operation. INVEST. This is a project which is coordinated by ICIS, which stands for Innovative Solution in Space. It is a SME in the Netherlands, which invited us to join this project, which is slightly outside what we usually do. It is fun to be involved, but it's also a challenge. So the other partners are, apart from KTH, are von Karman Institute in Belgium, who is best known in the in certain parts of the space community due to QB50 project, with they're coordinating another EU project which is aiming to launch 50 CubeSats. And also S3, which is a Swiss SME dealing with suborbital flights. So what we want to address here is the Compete 5 call of the first announcement of Horizon 2020, which aims at in-orbit validation of space technologies, in-orbit demonstration and verification. And as I understand, the logic of the Commission is such that one wants to boost the business opportunity and advancement of technology in Europe by providing in-orbit demonstration and verification opportunities which are different from ESA, or complementary to ESA, rather to say. But at the start of the program, it was not entirely clear how this would be done. So there was an announcement for short projects. This project is only 18 months, which would look at possible ways of implementing it, at the roadmaps. It's not quite an SRC, but it's a roadmap. So there are 4 projects in this category. Invest is one of them. Space industry is growing. It's not only public, there are commercial and export sales. So one of the challenges is, of course, demonstrating the technology in orbit or in other advanced testing. At low TRL levels, we have the research funding. At high TRL levels, it's commercialized. But in the middle, it's known as a valley of death. That's where help could be useful, and the purpose of the Invest is to help formulate a European-wide long-term program which would allow more rapid maturization of European technology, which would be independent of national differences and would run on a regular basis, which would allow to simplify it for technology developers. And it's not competing, but is meant to be complementary to existing program. The stakeholders here are the technology developers, the programs and agencies, and also the service providers. So the idea is to make a matchmaking mechanism which would allow to address the middle category of this technological complexity and the costs here. So ESA is addressing mission-driven technology development. They know what they want to do. They don't have technology. They need to develop it, and they issue tenders for that. On a cheaper and simpler side, we have the CubeSat community, but somewhere in the middle, there could be advances to be made. Sorry. Yes, and the 3 pillars is the office, which would deal with the matchmaking. Office is referring rather to a program which would be a formulation how this program could be managed, and the mechanisms, and also the financial aspects of it. The experiment listing, proposal of what experiments could be done, and this comes from the community, so you're welcome to contribute. And then in the end, there is also some development or regularization to be done on the technical solution. So as there are, for example, brokers for cheaper launches bunching together smaller satellites, a similar concept would be done on the testing side, so that there would be a range of testing opportunities simplified and made available to those who want. The office would run this program, and it's both the bottom up, so technology push, the developers would come with their proposals, and also whatever is needed for bigger missions could be used as a pool, and frequent calls, frequent and regular calls, and then you would go for opportunities which are streamlined with ICDs and also financial aspects and programmatic aspects to simplify for this aspect. So not all technology developers are prepared to run a whole mission just to demonstrate their stuff. They would need a simplified version there. So this is kind of a blueprint of how the whole thing would look like. And there are agencies, there are developers, and the office or the program comes out with open calls, and then they go in. And then, of course, there should be some kind of link to the service provider, which tell when the launches are available, and then some solution for the financial mechanisms. What do we do there, and what is there for Sweden? Of course, as I said, for me as a researcher, this is not the primary thing. We have people involved from KTH Industriella Styrsystem, which is industrial control systems, and other people who are more specialized in the programmatic aspects. But on the technological side, I think one experience which we have had is working with sounding rockets and at test range, and that's something we would like to promote. It is an opportunity to test, to get a weightlessness and vacuum test for a longer time, which would be relevant for a few systems, which you probably cannot do in other ways. But also we would like to promote participation from Swedish technology developers. So if you have any ideas, talk to me or contact the website directly, and we'll see what can be done. So I think I will stop here about the project. So what we basically are doing now is talking to developers, we have talked to providers, and we are starting to talk to agencies. There is a website, and you can see what you can contribute. So what my understanding of what this leads to is that when we and the other 3 projects in this Compete 5 category will submit their final reports, they will be used as a basis for the future call to see what the big call could be oriented into. And what we try to promote here is that the big call should be oriented into establishing a program, a long-term program, rather than flying one demonstration mission. So we'll see if we can get you to help us convince the Commission in this. So some reflections. I think I will repeat a lot of what Nickolay said. First of all, just from comparing these 2 projects, from my personal perspective, I would say that it's best to propose projects which are closest to your interest. And with SEAM, the match is 100%. With Invest, is probably a little bit less. On the technical side, it's full, but on the programmatic side, we feel there is some lack of not competence, but of gathering the experience at the same place, so to say. We have the industrial people, we have the programmatic people, but the best bet is aim for something which you would have done anyway. Strong consortium is important for success, and it is important that the partners are not competing with each other, that they don't have the same profile. They should have complementarity. The question which is always recurring in the evaluations, I've seen some bad ones and some good ones, is that whether the proposal was able to show how the tasks between the partners are different and complement each other. Network is important, but be aware of the competitors. Many people would be considering participating in various proposals, and it's not, to my understanding, it's not impossible, and it's not even always considered a bad taste to participate in competing proposals. So you have to be aware of what your partners are thinking. Whether or not to be coordinator is a big question. If you're a coordinator, then you're responsible. You have to push everyone, you have to chase everyone, but you can decide a lot of things. You can draw up the program. So, writing the proposal itself, it is important to read very carefully the call and keep reading it every week you're writing the proposal. Address the desired impact, both overall of the program and work kind of the sub part of the program, but also the specific impact of the call, because it's very important that you can convince evaluators that you are addressing it. A useful way of evaluating or seeing where you are was trying to explain the proposal or the project to an experienced outsider, someone who has dealt with EU projects, but maybe not an expert in your field. And that has been very useful at KTH. We are lucky to have the grants office, which provides this sort of services. We can also talk to Vinnova to the extent they have time for this. Yes, and also from the beginning, it's important to organize the work and the development in terms of deliverables and milestones, because later it simplifies the work. It simplifies what exactly has to be done. All the agendas mentioned by Nickolay can be sorted out as soon as you start becoming very concrete, very specific about deliverables. Now, these both proposals were written by coordinators, the first one by me, the second one by Jeroen Rottevel from ISIS. So we had no consultant involved, but that's just my experience. Yeah, and the last slide here. Reviewers have only short time for each proposal. I've been told many times this, and that's why it's good to be clear and explicit. And it's also very important to be careful with the wording. And that's where the external reader would be very good, because there is some jargon, there are some words which might have different meanings for different readers, and those would either you would want to avoid them, or you would use them at least carefully and be aware that there could be misreading in your thoughts. There is no problem with repetition. It's even better. If your proposal says the same thing in different places, it's better than failing to mention it. And I would say that the templates and the portals are becoming better. It's possible to do it, yes, but start using it early, because it's a pain fixing it in the last week. So when you get the project and run it, the coordinator must be following the work very, very closely. And that is, again, chasing everyone, chasing the partners. Even the best partners, they need to be chased and reminded. If you are not coordinator and coordinator is not chasing you, you should start to worry and chase a coordinator. The research executive agency wants you to succeed. They may send you some very scary and ominous emails, but they're really nice people, and they want the projects to be successful and you to be successful. So don't be afraid to ask for help or explain your situation. It's very important to be open with them. Reporting is not so difficult as it has been said in FP5 and 6, which I have no experience from. But you'll need some fiddling with the portal. And also the partners will need the fiddling with the portal. Even if they have a very small portion of work, they still need to go in there, log in, and you will need to explain trivialities to them. And the last point, remember that changes to the project are possible, and it's not a big deal. You make an amendment, and that happens. And that's actually something to be aware of. RIA wants you to succeed, you want to succeed, and do the best of the funding from the taxpayers. Thank you.